All right, guys, we're going to take a minute and work on wrapping the hands. There are a lot of different ways to wrap the hands. I'm going to show you one or two variations right here. And you really have to try it a few times, and depending on how long your wraps are relative to the size of your hands, you have to decide what works best for you. People feel differently. Some people really feel they need to wrap their thumb and others don't. And some people really put more cushioning on the knuckles and others don't. Again, and a lot of it depends on how long your wraps are and what's most important to you. So as you work with it, you'll figure it out. You have to do it a few times. So let's zoom in. We're going to work right here and see what we can do. This is a pretty long wrap. These are about 180 inches. And his hands are relatively small. So I think we're going to have plenty to work with here. So that means we're going to be going around maybe more times than you normally would. Okay. So you'll notice this says this side down on one side. And so we're going to start with that. You know, again, some people like to go this way because there's no danger in making it too tight. I usually prefer to go like this. And when we do this, if you keep your hand this way and I start wrapping around and make this tight back here, now when you make a fist, it's going to be too tight on your thumb. Okay? So what we're going to do to make sure that doesn't happen, we're going to go this way. And right now, he's going to make a fist. Pull it down there, right? And from there, I'm going to come around a couple times right here. Now we know it's not too tight. He can make a fist without it being too tight there, right? And I'm going to, the whole idea, what you want to support the wrist, support the hand, support the knuckles, and or thumb, if we do that. In order to support the wrist, usually you do an X pattern. And this is what trainers do to support a joint, whether it's your ankle or your knee. You usually use kind of a figure eight that you're going around with a figure eight. So a figure eight this way, you'll notice this kind of spirals down that way because these have a stripe on it. It's a little easier to see. I can come back up this way and get that kind of figure eight thing going. Again, if I do too much, I'll have too many wraps around there right now. So I come up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him open his fist now. As I'm wrapping his hand, the idea is he's going to keep his wrist straight the whole time, and he's going to open or close his hand as I do this. All right? Now, if Osmar was about to have a fight, this is how I would wrap his hands with a chair like this. You usually sit down and wrap their hands like this where you can kind of really see what you're doing. And normally for a fight, you would wrap this with gauze, and then you'd use athletic tape, right? So our wraps that we use in the gym are going to give us support, but we don't have to use a bunch of tape, and they're reusable and washable and everything, right? So I come around this way. And the idea here, you see where that stripe is. If he makes a fist right now, that's going to be kind of right across his knuckles like that, right? And I'm going to just come around here a couple of times. And then I'll have him make a fist again. And I'm going to go back down this way, all right? And so now you notice I'm going to start getting this figure eight across the back of his hand. I was working on the wrist before, now I get this figure eight across the back of his hand. So here, I'll ask him to open his hand again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to come in between this knuckle, these fingers here, I'm sorry. And so now he's going to make a fist again. So he's going to make a fist there. I pull this up in between, and again, I'm going to come back with another figure eight over the hand. He opens it up, and I'm going to come in between the fingers again like this. He closes his hand, so I have to make this smooth around the knuckle. Now from here, I've got enough wrap left. I come back up, and he opens it up, fingers wide, apart. I come around here a couple times. Oops, make sure that's not bunched up there. And then from here, I'm going to come back down over this way. You can make a fist right now. So I want to have him keep making a fist to make sure that's not too tight in there, right? And then I'm going to come down this way here, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to attach the Velcro right there. Boom. How's that feel, sir?
Good, sir.
Pretty good. Okay, good. All right. So we went just in between these two fingers. Again, if we were wrapping for a fight and I was doing it with gauze, I would go in between all the knuckles, and I might, in fact, make several layers to go over the knuckles here to get more knuckle protection. If you had a bruised knuckle, you would take some of these layers down here and maybe you'd double back and forth across here and make a little pad and then wrap over the top of that. So I won't do that right now. There's that, obviously that's a little different way to wrap it. Again, depending on how much length you have to work with, you might do that. Another thing that I did not do here is wrap his thumb. Personally, I don't like to wrap my thumb. I find that it just bothers me. Okay? A lot of people like to wrap their thumb. So if we're wrapping the thumb, we'll go back, we can play with that on another video. We would come a couple times around the thumb and then blend it in with the rest of this here. So the idea when you wrap the thumb, if he makes a fist, is to make sure that you don't put a bunch of packing in here so when he makes a fist that's sticking out further, that's what you don't want. You want to make sure that it's blended in and keeping it tight in here, right, so that it doesn't get pulled out when you punch, okay? And again, the whole idea of these, if he opens his fist, you get a little packing in between these so that then when he makes his fist, it's gonna, when you go over the top of it, it's gonna kind of hold those together. And that's gonna hopefully give you a little protection against, like if you catch your knuckle, like you sometimes will catch it here and pull this, and you can actually sprain this in between here, right? So that gives you a little bit of protection there for that you're holding it together. But you don't want to squeeze it too tight together, okay? All right? Now,